Greetings and cheers from Ed over at Antique Toys. Today we have an absolute treat. It is a 1986 Matchbox toy fair guide and price list and preview book for people making purchases back in '86. They went to New York Toy Fair. So hold on and we will show you more. Cheers from Ed over at Antique Toys. Let us dig in. First off, check out that turtleneck. Styling, 1986, and the lady had a winter outfit too. We see that Robotech was marketed for ladies as well as guys, and in this 1986 guide, we will see that throughout. We have die-cast links, Twinkletown, Hot Rod, Voltron, Robotech boys, Robotech girls, little needs, and baby. So first, if you're a Matchbox person, this may really appeal to you. Good looking race cars, trucks, and so forth. And it shows the packaging style of that year. More. Oh, look at that. That reminds me of Airwolf just a little bit. Matchbox had a habit of that. Picking cultural icons and getting close, but not paying like franchise fees. Race cars of the day. Updated 60s Corvette. And this would be Automotive Superstars. Cool. Convoy. And then finally, Superfast. Monster trucks. Playsets. That's kind of neat. More play sets. Matchbox motors, they labeled it under. And then we get into robots. Gargantua. Great illustration. Sort of derpy toy. When you see what Popey and Bandai did, as well as Bullmark and Takatoku this era, this was kind of ho-hum, but it was an absolute grab at trying to put robots in with car toy people. Speed shooter, that's kind of neat. All right, this is what we all were waiting for. Vehicle Voltron Deluxe. 24 pounds for 6. Miniature Voltron is below. That's the big packaging for the 15. And then if you wanted, and you're on a better, like a lesser budget, you could get a Aqua, Land, and Sea. So Land, Sea, Air. How about some Voltron?
Comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe. A mighty robot.
The Lion, which they called it Lion Force. It tells you what it includes, size, and shows you the difference. When you bought a large and it was in a store, the small was quite a bit smaller. And we did have accessory kits here. So blue, black, yellow, green, but the sword and shield were sold on its own, I believe. And look, they had a miniature a la carte, and then they had a large size a la carte. I did not know about this miniature, so the miniature went with this guy beside. Macross, aka Robotech fans. This was the diluted story that was pitched for SDF-1, Robotech saga. And then it tells you about what's going on, where they're going to do a multi-million-dollar TV ad campaign, participation in lifeline learning, which means absolutely, oh, hilarious. So they went into the schools, 14,000 schools to help, and they do some other merch. It's really a brilliant campaign, though, in terms of the history of toys. It worked. And I would say the cartoon worked as much as their merch. The cartoon was great. So here's 3 3/4 action figures, which puts things at G.I. Joe and Star Wars-ish size. If memory serves me correctly, it was just a little bit bigger. Here's Rook. And then here's the giant Zendrani. The bad guys. Okay, so carrying on with the mecha. I always thought this design, the Invid scout ship, was one of the nicest. And then I always thought the coloration on the Zendrani, the such and such battalion, was the coolest with the blue. And then Bernard, killer toy, killer piece.
All right, you slugs, come on!
Armored Cyclone. And then below we've got the hovercraft, which was, I felt, total garbage. I think this ended up at KB quite a bit, because with no figure included, it looked like that. It was just lying there. The Battle Pod, of course, is one of the top toys. People like a good Battle Pod. I think they called it Chicken Walkers or something. And the Shock Troopers were great. Nice toy. The Write Up, real quick, is there. And then the Battle Pod, which again was a strong toy. It was an officer's one. Zendrani officer. Real nice. Top piece potentially in the group was the Veritech Fighter. Kids of the time really liked the F-14. Of course, it was well rounded for safety standard reasons, and we noticed, kids noticed. That's why Takatoku's diecast was so much more interesting to us at the time. And then the hover tank. It was more of a dog-eat toy. Didn't sell quite as well, in my opinion. However, it did have a battle droid mode. Alright, now for one of the ultra rare ones of this year. The Action Play set. I know not many made it to Florida. Heck, I didn't even see it on the store shelves. But it would have been a really fun toy if you had some extra jack for these figures. The sold separately items. Because otherwise it was just kind of an empty plastic shell. It was quite expensive. These were a pretty decent price point. I believe they sold pretty well. And then the big one, the Cannon. Cannon was prone to falling apart up there. Great toy though. And then the Alphas. My experience was that these were not well shipped. They were shorted. And so it was a really great toy, but there just were not many on the market. But that was personal experience. Maybe you can comment below if you saw them all over the place. Because I could be wrong. Toys R Us was not a big thing. This is Matchbox trying to get over into the fringe, a mecha launcher. So you have these vehicles, which I believe were constructs. And so they made die-cast vehicles shooting out of a launcher. And then this, I believe, was a pretty big failure. It was an attempt to rope in the ladies, women of Robotech, and to try to sneak into some of that Barbie market. And, you know, if you need your jazzercise Barbie, fur coat Barbie, which it's not, it's Min May, I believe, and such, you could have had a good time as a lady, but I just don't think it resonated. I don't think the line went too far. Not even sure if this fan liner jet made production, because it was to complement the cycle, and there were no batteries required. And then the absolute abomination. Barbie Dream House, but it's not. It's Min May's Chinese restaurant and bedroom. Or is it a bedroom with a restaurant? Dana's story with video. And then you could have Min May's story with video gift set. Or Needle Littles. You could get these. Baby size, exercise. You know, they were trying. Matchbox was trying to do what Fisher-Price did, I can tell. And these are just interesting little footnotes to the toy industry. People saw money in it and tried to get over. 1985 Harmony Gold and 84 World Event copyright for the Voltrons. And then finally, Toy Fair price list. February 9th, 1986. I'll just hold and give you some ideas of what was available, what the prices were. And I'm moving it over real quick. These were not the toys you needed. And then the die casts, the cars. Alright, so cheers from Ed over to Antique Toys, as well as Robotech, as well as Mars Options. Please write to me, toys@AntiqueToys.com. If you have similar robot toys or interesting character toys of the 80s, 70s, 60s, we go all the way back to the 1890s. And I hope you enjoyed this quick catalog review of the 1986 Matchbox. Cheers from Ed, have a great day. Amen.